All right, so let's take a look at a Scotch game here. So I'm going to share a piece of my preparation I played a few years ago. So this game is between me. I was white in this game, and black was an international master from India, Rahul Sangma. I was a talented junior in the 2000s, 1990s from India. I was also national champion under 10. I think he also won like a few Asian medals. So definitely a good player. But let's take a look at it. So he's black and I'm white. Let's put some there's photos here, right? Okay, so actually this should be reversed. That's fine. We just have the notation back here. All right. So Scotch game e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. Right. So playing d4 indicates that we are playing the Scotch opening. So I like Scotch opening. Like it opens up the game very early on, and there is not a lot of theory as you might see in Roy Lopez or Joy Capiano. It's pretty straightforward. Like if you get a feel for these open positions, right? So this is the typical center structure where white has the e pawn, black has a d pawn, so white has a presence in the center. And so if you get to understand the structure of playing with the center, then it's very easy to play Scotch with white, and you can get very good results as white by playing this opening. All right, so here there are a few variations. Black played bishop c5. So other options that black has is black can play a side variation like queen f6. There is a side variation for queen h4, and of course the main line knight f6. Right. So these are apart from bishop c5, knight f6 is the main line, which I'll be covering in the course in the training camp. But for now, let's take a look at the other variation. Bishop c5. So bishop c5. After knight b3, there is another variation where white plays knight into c6, and here black has a few choices. You can take d into c6. You can play queen f6, right? Where he's threatening to checkmate on f2, and if white, let's say, protects it with something like queen e2, then black plays d into c6, and he's avoiding the queen exchange, right? Or he can also take b into c6, and black has managed to block white's development. So this is also a main line, right? So let me put here. Knight into c6 is also a main line. Also a main line. And it's more played than the alternative knight b3, but I had some special preparation with knight b3. It's not as much played in practice, and so black players really sometimes have difficulty preparing for a variation like this. So you get bishop b4 check, right? So yeah, I mean, another option that black can play is bishop b6. And usually in positions like this, white tries to exchange the c1 bishop for the b6 bishop. Right? Let's say the game might continue knight c3, knight f6, and white can play queen e2. And if he castles, then bishop e3, and I get these bishops exchanged. So that's the main theme in the variation starting with 5 knight b3, right? Anyway, so bishop b4 check is also a good move. It's a sensible move. I played bishop d2. Knight c3 is not really a good move because then black can get to fracture white's pawn structure, and then these pawns are weak. And white can play c3, knocking out the bishop. But that's really the point of bishop b4. By if white plays c3 prematurely, thinking that he's getting a tempo, black can go back to e7, and now white's knight cannot develop his c3. If he plays c4, then he can go back to bishop b4 and give another check. And by playing c4, white has created some weaknesses in the dark squares in his position. So bishop b4, the best response is bishop d2. Black played queen e7. Bishop d3, so he's attacking e4. Bishop d3, bishop into d2 check, queen into d2, right? So I want to bring my knight to c3 and d5, so that's why I took with the queen on f6 and c3, d6, and long castles. So white in this position has a few different plans. One way he can play is by bringing his rook in the center. So let's say I give an extra move to white. He can play rook e1 and he can play knight d5, thus creating a big pressure in the center against the black king. Or another plan can be I can play something like h3, and let's say if I'm given a free hand, white can start to play on the king side, and then he can start to push his pawns on the king side and get a lot of space. Right. For that reason, I like the idea where I went long castles. So black went short castles, and this sort of fit into my preparation. King b1. So just a nice move to tuck the king in. Black plays a6. So the kings are a castle on opposite sides, right? So white's king is on queen side, black's king is on king side. So rule of opposite side castling is that you want to start pushing pawns against the enemy king. So black is preparing a6 b5, and white will also have to do the same. So here white has a few different plans, f3 and g4, or he can play, instead of f3, g4, he can play h3 and g4. And there is another plan, which is playing in the center, right? So you can play f4, rook e1, and knight d5. And that's the plan I like the most. And I think the reasons will become clear in a short while. So if white plays in the center, black's attack on the queen side doesn't hold as much water. And if black is not able to attack on the queen side, then he really doesn't have a strategical goal, which will lead to a very bad position for black. And then after I've consolidated in the center, then white can start attacking. So that was my plan. So I went with it. So I went with rook e1, with bishop e6, f4. Well, the idea of bishop e6 is really interesting, right? So let's say if black had played b5, then I could have gone knight d5. And if takes, then takes, and his knight falls. And by playing bishop e6, black is hoping to exchange the bishop for the knight, right? So let's say I play knight d5, we'll go queen d8. Now he really wants to exchange bishop into d5 and keep the extra knight. Nothing wrong with knight d5, but I just wanted to increase more pressure. So f4 is definitely a good move. I'm keeping black on his toes, right? So not giving black a lot of chances. B5, h3. And I'm really waiting for black to play b4. So if black plays b4, then I will go knight d5, which will be really unpleasant. So knight d5 is always a threat, and white can always execute on it. But in the meantime, white can start pushing on the king side. If black plays queen d8, so obviously that battery on e file was really uncomfortable for black. I can always play knight d5. So it went queen d8. But once the queen went onto the d file, I found another file, right? So I found that I have another rook on d1 already, and I can use that to create pressure against black queen. So on d8 also the black queen is not safe, and so I played e5 here. Take, and when knight d7, and I went queen f4, right? So as I mentioned earlier, now I want to start putting pressure on the d file. Played knight d7, and played knight d4. So white obviously wants to attack on the black king, and so the knight on b3 was really far away from the black king. So one by one, white is bringing pieces on the black king side. Just maximize the board. So knight e7, and now we went queen e8. A bit passive, but can't really complain about black's position here, right? So yeah, black wants to play something like knight c5, but knight c5 runs into tricks like, let's say, knight into e6, knight into e6, bishop into h7 check, into h7, and then I give queen h4 check, right? So I bring my queen out of attack from this, and after king to I take black's rook. So due to this discovered attack, black played queen e8. Here he brought the queen out of the rook on d1's range, queen h4, increase pressure at 6, g4. As I said, pawns are really the key to attacking the enemy king. He played knight c5, with g5, knight into d3, rook into d3. So it was tempting to retreat the bishop, right, not to allow this exchange, but already by playing g5, white is opening up black's king side. So knight g6, right? So if black takes on g5, queen into g5, and then I have this big open file against the black king. So black should get mated here pretty soon. So that's why he played knight g6. And the idea is if black's, if white's queen goes to h5, then you can play knight f4, forking the rook on g6, right? And the queen on h5. And I had to bring the queen to g3, supporting the g5 pawn, and h5. So black here gets to at least keep the king side closed for some time. And now, like it's a valid question to ask, like for white to ask himself how he should continue with his attack. That now the pawns are blocked, so how can he start attacking the black king? So I found a very interesting way to continue the attacks. Knight e4, he played rook d8 and knight f6 check. So there is this fork. The black has to take on f6, take on f6. And here, after sacrificing the knight on f6, white has a very powerful threat of checkmating the black king by playing queen g5, queen h6. Black's dark squares are really weakened. So the g7, h6, h5, these are all weak squares in the black king side. And g7 is especially tough to defend, right? So black does not have a dark squared bishop, so g7, he cannot protect the g7 square with his bishop. He needs some other way to protect the g7 square, right? So he played king h7, the idea being that he will play either rook g8 and protect g7, or he will play rook h8 and protect the h6 square, thus preventing the queen to go to h6 from g5. So I played knight into e6. And here my opponent made a blunder. He played rook into d3, after which I gave a knight into f8 check. And here he resigned. So It's already, like, so if it takes, let's say, queen into f8, I can take queen into d3, and already I'm exchange up. So I don't even need to checkmate black immediately. I can just play a very slow endgame and beat him eventually. So by here, white already has a winning position. But I think the critical variation was queen into e6 and f into e6, right? So what would have happened if black had taken the knight on e6 and kept the extra piece? So how would white continue if black had kept the extra piece, and does white have a checkmating attack? So let's take a look at it, right? So let's first take a look at the variation queen into e6. So if queen into e6, then queen g5. Now there are a few variations. If black takes rook into d3, then white doesn't really have to take c into d3. You can play queen into h5 check and king g8, and then I play queen h6. And the mate on g7 cannot be really stopped. As we can see, black does not have any threats on the white king. If you place queen into e5, then I can just do a checkmate, right? I don't need to take this. So yeah, that is just queen g7 mate. Obviously, rook into e5 is a mistake because then you can give rook d1 check, and then black should be winning, right? White has to retreat and take, and black wins here, but white doesn't have to do that. If queen into e5, then just give queen g7. So queen into e6, queen g5, and as you can see, the threat is to take on h5 and then put the queen on h6, right? So black can try to play rook h8 here, but then I have, again, different ways to continue. I guess the most straightforward is queen into h5 check. And if you place king g8, then now the rooks aren't protected anymore. So rook into d8 check, knight f8, and rook into f8 check, king into f8, queen into h8 checkmate. Right. So queen into e6 also leads to a force mate after queen g5. So queen g5 is really a good move, I'd say. And black does not have a d8, so rook h8 does not work. What else? We saw already that rook into d3 does not work. Yeah, I mean, like queen into h5 and then queen h6 is a really powerful threat. There is not a lot that black can do here. Queen into h3 doesn't work because I have rook into h3, right? So tough to defend this. Black is already lost here. So queen into e6 doesn't work. Let's say, what would white do after f into e6? F into e6 now. There are a few ways I can to continue. I was thinking of first taking rook into d8, right? So queen into d8 and again queen g5. And again, you see now queen h5 has two threats, right? After queen into h5, I'm not only threatening queen h6, but I'm also threatening to take the knight on g6. So here the knight on g6 is under trouble. And let's say if he plays rook g8, so rook g8, then there is queen into h5 mate, right? If he just takes the knight, let's say back to h8, then there is just simply queen g7 checkmate. And then obviously if queen e8, then I take queen into h5 check, king g8, and now white plays rook g1. And again, black cannot protect the knight on g6. He does not have a defense here, and he should get mated pretty soon here. So yeah, black's position is really indefensible here. And so if you go back to the position where black, my opponent made a blunder, you can see that black's position was already lost. He didn't have a lot of defense here. Queen into e6 loses. To queen g5, rook into d3. After rook into d3, queen into h5 is the correct move, right? So if you take the rook, then this would be a blunder, right? So this would be a blunder because now black can defend on h5 by playing queen into h5. White can be really on time here. queen at h5 check, king g8, queen h6, and black has no defense. So, all right. So I think that concludes this preview video. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Scotch games, obviously this is just one game. There are a few other variations that black can play, and I'll be covering those variations during the training camp and during the course. So if you want to learn more, then be sure to sign up for the courses. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And I'll see you soon in a new video. All right. Happy learning.